The town of Brookvale, Michigan, believed numbers never lied, especially when those numbers came from a system. 7 years ago, Daniel Foster worked at a steel manufacturing plant just outside town, a place where everything was tracked by digital time cards and access scanners. Clock in, clock out, badge in, badge out. One night, a machine malfunctioned and crushed a coworker during a late shift, turning a routine night into a tragedy. Investigators moved quickly, and the system showed that Daniel had been logged in near the machine at the exact time of the accident. The digital record was clear, precise, and unquestioned. Daniel insisted he had already clocked out and was in the locker room when it happened. But the supervisor pointed to the screen and said the system couldn't be wrong. The court agreed. Daniel was convicted of negligence and sent to prison, all because of a timestamp no one bothered to challenge. Daniel's wife, Hannah Foster, listened as the prosecutor repeated the same sentence again and again. The time card doesn't lie. She remembered that night differently. Daniel had called her saying his badge wasn't scanning properly and that a supervisor told him they would fix it later. Hannah didn't argue in court. She didn't accuse the company. She understood that fighting emotion with emotion never worked against data. After Daniel was sentenced, Hannah moved to Ohio and took a job in payroll processing, then slowly transitioned into workforce compliance auditing. She learned how badge systems sensed, how delays caused mismatches, and how supervisors could manually adjust entries after a shift ended. She learned that systems didn't lie, but people edited them. 7 years later, the steel plant was sold to a larger corporation that ordered a full audit of labor records before finalizing the purchase. Hannah applied through a third-party auditing firm using her maiden name and was assigned to review historical timekeeping discrepancies. Her role was limited to flagging inconsistencies, nothing more. When she accessed the logs from the night of the accident, she noticed something subtle that the trial records never mentioned. Daniel's badge had scanned out, but the scan hadn't synced to the central server until 12 minutes later, after the accident occurred. During that delay, a supervisor manually reassigned Daniel's active status to cover the machine downtime. The system showed Daniel present, but the raw access log showed otherwise. Hannah didn't download anything or confront anyone. She submitted a standard audit note stating that a manual override appeared to conflict with access control data and recommended review under compliance policy. That note triggered a routine internal investigation that quietly expanded when auditors realized similar overrides had been used to avoid safety penalties in multiple incidents. Daniel Foster's case resurfaced as part of that review. At the appeal hearing, an independent expert explained synchronization delays, manual edits, and how the system had been used to protect management rather than reflect reality. The judge asked one question that ended everything. Why was this data not disclosed to the defense? No answer followed. Daniel was released 4 weeks later. Hannah met him outside the facility where he had lost 7 years of his life and handed him his old watch, the one he wore the night everything went wrong. The company settled without admitting fault. Supervisors were terminated, and new regulations were imposed requiring independent verification of all manual timecard changes. Hannah never spoke to the press and never returned to Michigan. She didn't consider what she did revenge. To her, it was a correction, a reminder that numbers only matter when someone is willing to read them honestly, and that the truth doesn't disappear when it's edited out. It waits quietly until the right person puts the time back where it belongs.